Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. We have a very special guest all the way live from Chicago, Jessica Mccaskill. Jessica, how are we doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am absolutely fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So tell us, so for people who don't know who you are, Jessica, in a brief sort of overview, tell us who you are.
I am a native of St. Louis, Missouri, now fighting out of Chicago, Illinois. I have a record of 5-2. I hold the ABO Intercontinental title. I fought for a world title in London in December against Katie Taylor, and I'm just looking to climb my way up the ranks.
Okay, Jessica, uh, first question is thank you first of all for joining us. What got you into boxing?
Fitness overall, basically. I've always been a gym rat and I've always been very competitive. I've always played competitive sports growing up, and I was given a fitness workout boxing class kind of gift. And being as competitive as I am, it went from taking the class to, okay, I want to spar and see if I can take a punch, give a punch. And then it just grew from there. I wanted to have my first exhibition fight, and then I wanted to actually have a fight on the books, on the record. And it hasn't stopped yet. And that was 2008. So I've been in it for 10 years.
Wow, 10 years dedication. Eh? So when you did take that first punch, tell us your experience, how you felt taking that first punch.
I said to myself, oh, this isn't that bad. Now it's my turn. And I found that my power was a lot more than a lot of these females can handle. Even to this day, that's still the case. And the things that kind of keep that momentum going with that is, we spar with guys and they're a lot stronger and a lot faster. And so it keeps me on a different playing field than a lot of the other females. And with me having such a short career, I've only had maybe 25 amateur fights, and now I've had 7 pro fights, and I'm fighting people that have had way more fights and way more experience than I've had. So it just keeps me a little bit, more boosted up than some of the other girls.
One of the things I notice and I love about your style, the intensity, fierce when you come to the ring and fierce when you fight. Was your style always like that when you started out, or is that something you've grown into?
It's always been like that, but maybe in a different way. I started off as a brawler and just a kind of wild and power over everything. And when I came to Chicago, my trainer and manager Rick Ramos, he more or less tamed me and taught me how to box. And so now I keep the pressure and I keep that pressure on my opponents, but I switch between boxing and brawling, being a fighter and being a boxer.
So talk to us about how the relationship between yourself and Rick and how that kind of formulated to who you are today.
Well, it took me forever to find an actual gym. I moved here for a job, and it took me about 9 months to find a boxing gym in between going to different places and they were just fitness clubs, or going to different places and they were MMA focused. It took a while, and I finally found his gym, and I was just taking the classes and trying to do more than everybody else and just work my way up into doing mitts and then actually fighting. And the relationship between us is just all trust and a lot of transparency. I definitely feel like I have an upper hand having the relationship I have with him versus other people and their managers or other people and their trainers. They're not honest with their fighters about the fights that they have coming, or their opponents that they have coming up. But with me and Rick, I mean, we're really good friends, and we always keep everything completely 100 across the board. So I trust him, and the very first few times that I had to trust him, it was more of a, okay, if he messes up, then I'm going to tell him that he messed up. But I haven't had that opportunity yet, so he's done good by me.
Wow, wow, that's something that a lot of fighters would love to tell their trainers off and tell them X, Y, and Z. But you've been in a position where you haven't had to. do that. And with the fierce style that you've got, I wouldn't want to be on the end of you telling somebody that they've got it wrong. Poor Rick.
Yeah.
So this relationship you have with Rick obviously has got you to where you are today. Let's take it back a bit more. When did you, I mean, this might be a really silly question, but when did you realize that you had actually knockout power? I mean, you can drop one person in the gym or you can drop another person in the gym. And it could be you think, oh, well, it was a fluke or it was. What was the time you thought, you're like, I'm actually a puncher?
It might have been early on, before I even came to Chicago. I mean, it's hard to tell, honestly, in boxing because you can either have it or you can have a poor opponent, and then that makes you feel like you have it, you know.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. So I believe it was like maybe my second fight. The fight ended at the beginning of the second round or something, you know, very abrupt, like that. And I could hear the pop on the camera. The camera was whoever's camera it was pretty far away. So the pop was something that I kept in my head, and I was like, wow, you know, I have something. And then when I came here, Rick had me spar one of his girls in the gym, just I guess to see what I had, and I dropped her with a body shot. And so, you know, it's just kind of like these little instances throughout the whole career, just kind of remind you of, I guess, the potential. And you know, it probably I mean, you get hit in the amateurs, and sometimes people just don't train right. Another smoke and mirror situation. But I guess in my pro fights, there's been some. I've had 3 knockouts, I think. So I guess it's not until you get to that level where everybody's on the equal playing field, and you do what you came to do.
Now, I think there's been 2 phases within female boxing. Of course, you've got the phase before we had Layla Ali, and you had Riker and the preacher's daughter, Christy Martin, of course. That era, and I've been fortunate to speak to. I'm really fortunate. I got a chance to speak to Riker. That was an absolute honor. Lucia Riker was an absolute honor to speak to Lucia Riker. At that time, was considered the most dangerous female fighter in the world, and even she went to the point where she even fought a man. Most females, you know, actually went and and held her own for a round or so against another male, which was incredible. Now, and then you have the era that's kind of like today, where we've got Clarissa Shields, yourself, and Katie Taylor, and Chantelle Cameron, and Savannah Marshall, and Nicola Adams, Christina Hammer. For yourself, were you inspired by the Layla Ali generation, or was this something you came into on your own?
I'd have to say it was I wasn't really into boxing per se at such a young age to where they were boxing. I did watch some of the fights. I do remember some Tyson fights when I was young, but I've just always been more so inspired by my limitlessness. You know, don't tell me I can't do something, which is a lot of what female boxers come up against. You know, there's people telling them, you know, what to do, what to wear pretty colors, you know, do X, Y, Z. And so just fighting against all of these, you know, stigmas and girls can't do this and they can't win world titles and nobody's going to watch you, no one's going to buy your tickets. It's more so fighting against a lot of that and just believing in myself enough to break through those barriers rather than try to follow somebody else's path. I'm not here to follow anybody else. I'm not here to be like anybody else. I'm here for little girls and little boys to be inspired by what I'm doing and the history that I'm making.
There was a reason why I liked you. There was a reason why I liked you. And now you've set me off. That's it now. Right. Now I want to know, you're telling me about, so let's go straight to be quite direct with you. So do you find as a female fighter that there's things you have to do that probably a male fighter probably wouldn't have to do? For example, a female fighter having to dress in very skimpy clothing to promote her fight, as opposed to a bloke just wear what he wants.
Showing up.
Yeah, just showing up. Talk to me about that for a second.
Yes. I've actually had that experience. Rick and I, it was just me and him, a boxer and her trainer, and he signed to be my manager, and we didn't have a promoter, so we had a game plan. There's a couple local promoters here in Chicago, and Warriors is one of them. And honestly, they probably just weren't even looking at me. I was just something in the room. I was not Andrew Fonfara. I was not Jose Felix Posada, who's also under Rick Ramos's management for a while, but I was just something else in the room. And so Rick was like, "All right, game plan. I need you to wear this, and you got to look nice." And so I basically had on like a bodysuit and some jeans, and the V-neck went down to my belly button. Razzle dazzle hair kind of thing, and they allowed us to sit with them and just kind of chat it up for a couple of fights ringside. And I think once they saw me, they paid attention. And once they paid attention and we had conversation, they realized that I had, a head on my shoulders and I knew what I was talking about when it came to boxing. And we just kind of grew from there as far as, giving and taking a little bit. But it did start in a manner that no guy has probably ever had to deal with.
Which leads me to the next question. Do you feel if you didn't have Rick in your corner, you probably would have been approached inappropriately?
Oh, Rick is definitely my filter. I mean, he always says blame it on me, and he's protected me from a lot of things, but he's also more or less pushed me in the fire to a couple of things, and and told me like, hey, this is gonna happen. Like that night, he's like, hey, you're gonna look like a piece of meat, and it's like, okay, we're going through the fire, but we always go through it together. And so the trust is still there, because he's so transparent, and it works out.
But as a female, how does that make you feel having to put yourself in such a position that your your male counterparts don't have to do?
I mean, that's our existence. I mean, it shouldn't be, but the water cooler talk, the pay versus women and men, and trying to get the respect in a certain sport compared to, I mean, it's all part of what we do on a normal basis. It's getting better. It's definitely getting better, but it's not brand new. It's not brand new to me. And you can either figure out a way to deal with it, or you can make the situation worse. And I feel like dealing with it in the ways that I have, I'm getting into a space where I can shut down those stigmas and change the game for other females coming up behind me.
I remember specifically talking to Ava Knight, and she was talking about how the fact that in the USA, despite her being a multi-weight world champion, she had to go and fight in Mexico to get paid. And when she went to Mexico and fought in Mexico, she was getting spat at. That's how rough, and that's what she had to deal with in boxing. A US champion, a world champion, a multi-weight world champion, a pound for pound almost legend, having to deal with that. Do you understand that, or is that foreign for you, or is that something that you've had to deal with in terms of struggling to get fights, or is it different for Jessica Mccaskill?
You said, do I have to deal with the same things, or am I surprised by?
Both.
I've been welcomed, in different countries, and by male, female, by different ages. Even my opponents, like there's such a mutual respect by a lot of my past opponents. I haven't had to deal with a lot of things, but I also think it's a lot in the way that you carry yourself. I'm not saying that you have to be a girl and wear heels and dresses, but I do feel like you have to show respect for yourself, and other people will follow that and respect you as well. I haven't had problems with a lot of people being out of pocket. I have had people tell me, you're a girl and nobody's actually coming to watch you fight. They're just coming to look at you. And I wear a lot of black. And they said something to where I should be wearing like pretty colors. And it's just kind of like, it's going to happen. People are going to be ignorant, and you just deal with it and move on. So, but for the most part, I haven't had any bad problems.
Okay, look, it's not like you're difficult to look on the eye. I mean, you must be aware that most women are aware of that, right? So I think and the thing is, it's like I don't like the expression if you've got it, flaunt it. But the expression is if you've got a talent, then surely you can capitalize on that. I mean, sure, let's put it another way. If you weren't good to look at, but you could fight, that is that a disadvantage as a female or an advantage? I don't want to come across as one that's but at the same time it's the obvious that well okay, marketing wise, she's a good looking girl, she can fight, put the two together, marketing like a genius there. That's marketing and that's what it is. Even with boxing, like he's a good looking bloke, he can fight, he's articulate, bang, we've got a package here. Does it work the same for women or do you have to be careful with that?
I think you do have to be careful with that. I feel like it's definitely a catch 22, and depending on how much you're flaunting the look rather than using your marketing towards your boxing, you can mess up how people perceive you. Like I've done some modeling, there's pictures out there, but I don't post them all the time. I don't post myself in a dress or something and say like, come see me fight tonight, or it's just boxing is boxing. My modeling is my modeling. It is nice to be as far. I've been looking at getting my own fighter, so it's you look at the whole package. You look and see if they're articulate and see if they can sit in front of a camera and see if they can conduct interviews and put words together simple enough, and so it is a good thing, but if you don't manage it the right way, it can backfire bad.
So, okay, then females listening to you now are going to think, okay, it's all right, Jessica, you seem to have got your head screwed on here. How do I do that? How
Yeah.
exactly? Obviously, I don't want to know that because I'm male and I'm not going to be getting in the ring again anytime soon to box. But just message to young ladies, how would they go about that? How do they ensure that they don't go over the line, but at the same time be able to stay within the line and use the attributes they do have to sell themselves in a manner which is not degrading nor being like a piece of meat, as you rightly said.
Um, one of the main things is like as soon as some of these girls get some kind of recognition, first thing they do is they pose naked for a magazine, and it's kind of I'm telling you it's like first you do this and then you get recognized and then you're naked, and a lot of people have followed those footsteps, and it's like go get some headshots, that's okay, wear nice clothes, that's okay, but remember that you're here for boxing. If you want to model, that's great, go do that, get a whole photo shoot going, that's fine. But if you're here for boxing, it's just, the main thing is the boxing. You're going to have interviews, so practice conducting your interviews. People are going to want posters, so go take some pictures and put some nice posters together. But just remember, like, the main thing is the boxing. I'm not trying to put anybody in a box or tell them they can't do certain things, but as soon as you start putting these pictures out there, you get these weird IMs, people screenshot, they send them back to you, they ask for autographs, they want your phone number. Like it can get crazy. And I haven't had to experience a lot of that, but I mean, the little things that I have gotten, if those were to ever blow out of control or get out of pocket, it's just like, it's a nightmare. You have to change all of your social media, you have to block people, it gets crazy.
But isn't that part of being in the public eye? I mean, let's be honest, I've had some dreadful stuff come through on social media, and look, I've not been on television fighting, but I mean, I've got I get dreadful stuff put through at times. I mean, and that's part of being in public eye. So, how much of that do you accept as being a public figure, and how much you accept that being just it's just out of order?
Most of it's just most of the like I said, I haven't had very many problems at all. I do get a lot of inboxes and things like that, just people I don't know, which those go into a whole other folder. And so I'm working on making sure that I respond to everybody. But some people just inbox me and say you're gorgeous, or do you have a boyfriend? And so you have to be very careful about what you entertain and um, what you let carry on. But for the most part, like I said, I don't have very many problems, and I just keep everything really mild. You know, you talk to people a certain way, and um, if you were to inbox me, you say you're gorgeous, and I come back, hey, sexy, it's like I just opened this door. So just the words and the way that you communicate, the way that you communicate with people is very important. I mean, you just have to be an adult all the time. Oh, was that you? Was
that... Okay, fine. Yeah, you got me lost for words for a second there. Okay, let's talk a bit about you. You're not your. I don't use the average female fighter. I don't want to use that term. I'm starting to sound like something on a television, and I don't really want to sound like that. There's a lot more to you than just boxing. I mean, I was reading up a little bit more about you. You have a full-time job as well, am I correct?
Yep.
So you don't have sponsorship from Adidas or Nike or Reebok or...
No. I've been sponsored a few times by a couple of different glove handlers, and you know, it was just for the gloves for the fight. Nothing major, but I have a full-time job. I work in the finance industry in investment banking, so kind of like a regulatory, you know, keeping everybody in check with their numbers. I go in at 6 a.m. So if I work out before that, I'm up by 4 a.m. I work out with my trainer, make sure to get to work on time. I work from about 6 to 3. I get like a lunch workout in, and then I head straight to the gym after 3, open up, clean up, make sure everything's ready for the kids' class at 4:30. Somewhere in there, I get my workout or teach a class. I taught class tonight. Depending on if I have a fight coming up, I'll go home and maybe do a little bit more of a workout and start all over.
Wait, I have to take a step back a second, because we've got a few fighters in the UK, female fighters, that I know are full-time fighting. Some of them have represented their country and get full-time sponsorship. And you've got time to do your full-time job, run gym, and have a professional boxing career. That's unreal. And still be able to be as competitive as you are. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, hold on. If you just were to just dedicate yourself totally to just boxing,
yeah.
I mean, imagine the sort of development you can have as a fighter. And I mean, if that would be if you wanted to do that, to have that.
Right.
You may want that balance. You may think, you know what, I like the idea that I can work at a job, come and train, and work in the kids in the gym, and I can have that balance there. But you would develop so much faster as a fighter. I mean, I'm just thinking the potential of you just being a full-time fighter.
If I was a full-time fighter, I would probably just like go through all the weight classes and just like, let's go, you and me, let's go, like nonstop, fight every other month and go for it. I mean, you know, my job isn't holding me back. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I've had to be on the fast track since the very beginning. And that's something that Rick told me is like, you know, hang on, because this is going to happen really fast, and everything developed. You know, I was the first female that he signed. I was the first female that Warrior signed as a promotion company. First female in Illinois to fight for a world title, to fight for any title, I think. First female to have the ABO Intercontinental belt. Like, it just was like boom, 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 you know, and that's what he said would happen, and it did.
Wow. I'm just still here thinking myself, and now I'm thinking about the Katie Taylor fight again. And I'm thinking, there is no logical reason as to why you were as good as you were against Katie Taylor. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that fight, and then going back to now what you're saying, how you're living your life, and then how you fought Katie Taylor. This is a lady that's gone to the Olympics. This is a lady that's got a decorated amateur career, a gold medalist, you know, a pro, unbeaten pro. And I think myself, you shouldn't logically be anywhere near. You shouldn't even be competing with that. It shouldn't even be that. It shouldn't even be that close.
Yeah, it was a very close fight, and I don't think I'm getting enough credit for that. The scorecards, we knew if we didn't knock her out, which we definitely came close a couple of times. Um, we knew if we didn't knock her out that we wouldn't get the pull. You know what I mean? You know, we're in her hometown more or less, and but there were definitely some. We knew she kept her hands down. She did it then. She still does it now. If they ever showed any of my fight reel with her, you would be able to see some of that. But anytime she has a fight coming up, I'm nowhere to be seen. It's almost like they want to for people not to know that we fought, and almost like they're trying to keep me as a pretty little secret. And I mean, I don't think they would ever fight me again. I think, you know, if I was on their team, I would say don't fight her again because, you know, I mean, honestly.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, it's no surprise. I warned. I did. I had to warn before the fight. I watched your fights, and I saw Katie Taylor. I saw the way she drops her hands. I saw the way she keeps rushing with her chin in the air. So listen, against Jessica Mccaskill, she'll be very careful, very, very careful, because Jessica carries some serious power there, and the girl can box, and she can take a shot as well. She needs to be very careful. And we tagged Taylor quite a few times and hurt her. And you know, the scoring on that fight, as I said before, and I was commentating live on the bout. So the scoring, I have to say, was not as fair as it should have been. That's for sure.
And she got a point taken away. She had me in a headlock and hit me while she had me in a headlock. So it was one of those like, oh, well, we have to take a point away. They didn't take any points away for the multiple holds. The number of holds, if you actually count them, it's pretty crazy. But that's definitely up to the referee to, you know, whatever he feels is right. But even with the point, I definitely it's kind of crazy. But you know, that's why we just got to start knocking people out.
I want to go back to I didn't follow the story as to how you got the Katie Taylor fight, but I read something that you went to crazy extents to get the fight. I know you were calling her out and calling her out and calling her out. What exactly did you do to get the fight?
I was trying to see if I had the milk carton. There's some things that are still packed up in my house, but yeah, basically we called her out for about a year. And you know, my coach would post some things, we'd share it, we'd post video. I made a milk carton and put her name on and her face on the back, and it said missing, just because she's never really on social media. And so I just said, if you can find this woman, then you know, let Body Shot know, because we're looking for her. And you know, eventually my name, people were paying attention because it had gone on for so long, and other people started mentioning it. So their camp wasn't mentioning it. Other reporters would mention it and ask them about it. So it just kind of started to be one of those things that you couldn't avoid. And she had her title fight, and we sent a couple of rubber chickens to her gym, just saying good luck on your fight. And, you know, don't forget, we want to fight you too. Don't be a chicken. That never really came out to the public. But, you know, all in good fun, nothing disrespectful. You know, the story that I kind of tied to that is Michael Jordan. He would call the opponent's, you know, hotel room at like 3 a.m. and just say, hey, just so you know, I'm going to score like 5 on you. Like, you know, just good night. Have a nice night. And so just kind of in a sportsman-like fun, something like that. But I do feel like I'm definitely an equal in this game. And so the things that I do say, I won't apologize for, because I believe wholeheartedly that the work that we put in is quality work, and my career is not a joke. And I just hope people realize that.
Now, you haven't fought since 2017. Since that time, Katie Taylor's gone on and unified the division.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason why you haven't been as active and we haven't seen any more of Jessica Mccaskill in the ring?
We've had about about 5 fights fall through. There was a fight that was scheduled in the Bahamas. It got rescheduled, and then when it got rescheduled, they were having horrible weather. I mean, you saw the Bahamas, and then you saw this big red blob over the top of it. So that wasn't happening. So that got canceled. There was a Chicago fight that got canceled. We were trying to get on a couple of other people's cards that had lost their opponent and could never get through negotiations. And so there were, I mean, I've been training since December of, well, I had a good New Year in Vegas, but I've been training since, January 2nd of 2018. So it's been a nonstop kind of fight camp for me, just hoping to get something to catch, but it hasn't been for lack of effort on our side from my team and from my manager, Rick, but just things aren't, happening. So you can only push so much and you just have to stay ready.
So how do you ensure that you don't have this thing sort of inactivity? Because boxing is all about consistency and fighting regularly. And the fact that you're not fighting regularly, surely that must have some effect on your career.
I would think it has the potential to have effect on my career. But the way that my team just handles everything and the fights that we'll get before the end of the year, there's a few things that are kind of in the works. There's not a green light on anything yet. But like I said, we've been working all year to get fights, and there's been a couple of people that we kind of, threw some shout outs to, and they say things like, oh, she's too heavy, they just make up these like crazy things, or, oh, this is my favorite. I'm not in the gym right now. It's like, what do you mean? You're a professional active fighter. You're not in the gym right now? Like, I was just in the gym like an hour ago, literally. What do you mean? So we're definitely going to maximize as much as we can on the end of the year. And it's a lot about keeping your name out there. So if I'm not fighting, then I'm doing something in the community, or you'll see me coaching some of the amateurs, or you'll see some live sparring. Like I'm not, sitting stagnant, and my fans are right there with me. We keep them in the loop with us.
Now we have a champion here in the UK. I think she's IBO champion, Chantelle Cameron. Is that a fight you'd want to take on?
Their people have contacted my people, and so we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, if we talk about names, Chantelle Cameron, yes. Heather Hardy, 130, yes. Serrano, 140, yes. I mean, that's the thing, is like, I've had such a short and fast career. I don't have time to play games, and it's all work. Like I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. and staying up all day and training 4 times a day just so I can be like, I'm not in the gym right now. Like that's not how I'm rolling. We're here for hard work, and we're here for results, and then I'm on vacation when I'm done. But right now I'm not done.
So your hunger from 1 to 10, how hungry are you?
Gosh, a million. I mean, especially not having any fights this year, just sometimes I get in there with my sparring partners and I'm just like, can I just go like 110? Like, there's respect for the people that come in and help you. And, there's ways that you're supposed to carry yourself. And I just sometimes like, just give me like a 200-pound guy and let me just go for it, and if I knock him out, then that's his fault. But
200-pound guy.
I'm very hungry for it, and we're working with as many people as we can. I'd love to work with more people. I mean, rumor has it Eddie Hearn is coming to Chicago. I'd love to work with him in the future. We've had talks about going to spar West Coast. Work with some of those people. I mean, like I said, it's nonstop. Like Rick will text me, Rick will call me, and I'm just like, he doesn't sleep. Like, he's the best manager I could ever have because he's worth every penny. He never sleeps. He's always got some kind of idea. He always wants to put me in front of somebody's camera or interview or a set of people. I go talk to schools. There's a high school right around the corner from my new home, and I'm going to go talk to some girls there. And it's really nonstop, and it's not always in the ring. And some of those times are some of the best as well. Reaching out to some people.
You've really, with all that passion, with all that aggression, with all that, almost viciousness. I mean, I remember you coming to the ring, and like, I remember when you were fighting Katie Taylor, and Katie had you and was locking you up, and you just wanted to let go, and you just wanted to rip her head off, and just like it was like a ball of aggression. It was like, I'll rip your head off, I'll take your head off, and I'm picturing this woman in the ring. I'm seeing you now on tape doing all this stuff and going for her. And then I'm listening to you talk here. I'm thinking, are you the same woman? I mean, is there a switch in you that you just go bang for you to be that aggressive and that sort of like almost possessed? Because like you hear, you're like investment banking, working in the community, like at least with Mike Tyson, it was quite consistent. It was like, yeah, we could see Mike from here to there. We could see it, Mike. We could see it. With you, it's like, well, I can see it in the ring, but the correlation between you in the ring and out of the ring is like night and day. How do you do that?
It's still there. It just translates differently. Like investment banking, RJ O'Brien, that's the company I work for, and I have a lot of passion with working with them and the different things that they do for their employees and the programs that they offer. They've let me speak a couple of times about getting out of your comfort zone and just getting outside the box. And we do a lot of different fitness things there at my job. And so there's a lot of passion that I have for my company and my job. It just doesn't look like the form of hurting someone. It's very, very much the opposite. And the community, I love working with the kids at the gym and teaching them how to grow up and be proper people, and also teaching them how to box at the same time. But when it comes to boxing, yes, there's a switch, because a lot of that will take a lot of energy from you. You have to contain it and control it, and then when it's time, that's when it's just like I look totally different, and I'm so focused, and I'm ready to go.
But how? I mean, like I said, how do you do that? I mean, it's like I still can't get over the fact that the image of you when I saw you fighting Katie Taylor, and actually, I'd seen you fight in other fights, but that Katie Taylor fight, it was like there was a little bit on top. It was like it seemed like I was watching this fight thinking, there's a little bit on top here. There's something else there. There's where you throw a left hook, but there's a left hook and it's got a little bit more juice on it. There was a little bit more savagery about it. And I'm reading this fight, I'm going, this woman's really got some bad intentions. What did Katie Taylor do to her?
I really felt like, seeing her fight, I kind of was just like, yeah, she leaves her hands down, and yeah, she throws like this like weird flurry thing. It's like I saw all the faults when I looked at her, and everybody else sees like this built up greatness, and they put her on a pedestal. And I respect everybody that gets in the ring, but I just felt like we can take this girl down, and I felt like I had a lot to prove. It was my first 10 rounder. Every fight that I've had in some form or fashion, I've been the underdog. Whether it's been they've had more fights than me, they've gone longer rounds than I have. They have more fights in their amateur career, So, with being the underdog here, she had the title. She's gone 10 rounds before. She's used to the London area. She's used to being on TV more or less, and so there was just all these different things that I had to combat along with combating Taylor. So it was one of those things where I had to leave it all out in the ring, and I did. I definitely felt like I did. I would definitely do a few things differently if I could go back, but that's just kind of the hand that you're dealt, and you move on to the next and pray that they make the mistake of asking for a rematch.
How do you feel the press? Okay, forget the press. What was said to you before the fight by the American media and the naysayers?
As far as just what, different messages or interviews or...
Yeah, yeah, kind of like, oh, you can't do. You're fighting Kaylee Taylor. She's Olympic champion. You're just some girl from Chicago. That sort of thing.
I got a lot of love actually, even
Wow.
from a lot of you know people native to that area. They were just like, I've seen some of your fights, and I think this is going to be good. I think a lot of people really wanted to see Taylor have an actual fight. If you look at her lineup and the people that she's fought a lot of people that have kind of that old school Christy Martin, Layla Ali type of fighting style, where they're slow. They're kind of just big punchers, looking for that knockout punch. They don't really move a lot. And of course, it's going to be easy for somebody, as small and fast as Taylor to fight those kind of girls. Like, of course, you're going to get to a certain standing. But when you come up with somebody that applies just as much pressure, throws just as many punches or more, and has a lot more power than you do, then it's like, okay, that's like the whoa. So I think people saw that matchup and were just like, oh, this is going to be good. And let's see if Katie really actually has it. So I got a lot of love before the fight, after the fight, people wanting to interview before the fight and after the fight. I didn't really, there were a few people that questioned my manager's game plan. Like, they didn't know if I was ready for something like that, which understandably, I had never fought for a world title before. I had never gone 10 rounds before. I hadn't fought outside of the Chicago area before. So it's easy for people to have doubt. But on our team, it was just the next step. We knew that would happen. We didn't know when. We've been preparing for it since day one, considering everything took like a 5-step jump, compared to somebody else who's like, okay, next step, next step, next step. We were taking leaps and bounds. So it wasn't a surprise to us, and we were prepared for it, and the fans were great.
What did you learn from the fight then from Taylor?
I think what I was expecting was for something major to go wrong. You're away from your hometown. You're away from a lot of resources, I guess you could say. And so I was waiting for, I don't know, the hotel to burn down and we didn't have anywhere to sleep. I mean, something just major and big and ridiculous. And for the most part, we were taken care of very well. We didn't really get a good chance to warm up the locker. We were in an old, like, historic building. And so it was like very cold. And it was cold and slippery, and so we just kind of had to wait until right before the fight to get what we needed to go on. But so I think one of the things that I learned from that is just I'm really good at making things happen, kind of MacGyvering a situation, and that's just something I keep with me going forward. um, I think some of the other things I learned, again, just if you don't knock somebody out, you're giving so much space and opportunity for someone not just to win, but for them to conduct the narrative of the situation. you know um, she said a few things that sound great. Oh, this is the hardest fight of my career, blah blah blah. But then, like I said before, they kind of shut down that fight as if it never happened. They don't mention it. I think they're afraid to mention it because people will question it or people will ask for a rematch. So you lose a lot more than just the fight. You lose the opportunity to control the narrative.
Somebody else takes control of the narrative basically by saying, you know what, if you don't knock this girl out, we're not giving you the decision. Simple as that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, okay, so we talk about that. So, the future. What's the future for you now? You've got some fights lined up, hopefully.
I have a few things that, yeah, hopefully that we're looking for the official green light on, and I'm really gonna be working on some knockout power. Like, I feel like I don't have the time to play around, and I just need to stand out, and I need to make headway a lot faster than this was been 3 years. 3 years world title fight. ABO title. I That's probably really great for someone on a normal path, but I'm not on a normal path. I'm considered to be, I guess you can say, old in the boxing world, and you know we have to do what we can right here, right now. That's another testament to how hungry I am for it. I'm getting older. I'm not getting worse, but people's perception of you changes every year you get older. Um, these boys, they start at 18, 21, and I'm 33, and it was hard enough to get in the game, and um, it can cause some challenges staying in there. So I'm here to knock people out, so people can say, "Oh, look at that 33-year-old knocking people out! Like, she's still got it." Like, I don't want anyone to doubt um, my ability.
Now, in terms of knocking people out, when I spoke to Chantelle Cameron, she said that she loved knocking people out. She enjoys it. She gets turned on by it. Yourself, what do you feel like when you knock somebody out? Do you like that too? Are you that? Do you crave knockouts?
Um, I crave punching people in the face because there is a pop with the small gloves that you have that is undescribable. When I was younger, I helped my brother pierce his own ears, and popping through that cartilage is a sound that you will never forget. And punching somebody in the face with an 8-ounce glove is a feeling that you will never forget. So the punch itself is great. Knocking people out, it's kind of like when a puppy thinks he has a new toy in like a baby duck or something, and then it dies, and it's like, oh, now what? You in the fight fast, and you're like, now what? Are we done? Do you have anybody else for me? Can we go a couple more rounds? Like, wake them up, get the smelling salts. So there's a bit of um it's definitely a great thing to have, but you train for so long, and somebody comes in there and they're not ready, they're not on the same level, they didn't prepare, and then it's just like, and we're done. And you don't fight for another 30 days or more, easily. So um, the knockout's great. It leaves a little to be, you know, after that, it's just sad.
Okay. The weight division you can fight in. You can move between weights.
Yeah, I mean, we would fight 130. I've all my fights have been at 135. I definitely come in, like, I think the Taylor fight I was maybe like 132. So I could easily do 130, 130, 135, 140. Depends on the opponent and what we're trying to do, what the game plan is for that specific fight. But like I said, Heather Hardy 130 easy. That's great. Serrano 140. That's money right there. Chantelle Cameron, 135, 130, something
Have you
like
seen
that.
Cameron fight, by the way?
Say again.
Have you seen Cameron fight, by the way?
I normally don't watch a lot of film on people just because they normally don't seem to come in the same way you saw them on film. So you're studying one thing and then you get something else. But yeah, I've seen some clips.
Do you think she's better than Taylor, or do you think, or do you not compare them?
Um,
Because if you got a
I
fight with Cameron, and you fought Taylor, you'd think, well, if I could do this against Taylor, God knows what I could do against Cameron. If that's you were thinking that.
I think I was more so thinking, like, when people compare anything to Taylor, I feel like you probably should bring your expectations down a little bit. Like, they say Taylor, and I'm like, Taylor. Of course, she has a world title, and of course, she
Yeah.
has, she's undefeated. She has all the wins, you know. But if we're comparing her to Taylor, I don't. They, like you said, they fought several times in the amateurs, and um, I think she's an easy matchup, and I think you know as far as her skill, I mean, I don't mean to. I'm not very impressed a lot by a lot of people. I watch, I pick things apart in my head, and then I just try to execute. So at this point, we're ready to execute.
So you're ready for Cameron if that fight came about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
No fear.
No, never any fear. Never any fear. No, I mean, I have a lot of faith, Christian-based faith, and there's a lot worse things that I've been through. I've been homeless. I've had like the bad childhood. I've gone through a lot of stuff, and it's like if I can do that, I can sit with you for 10 rounds, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like, sure, there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, the thing is yeah, that person might punch me in the face, but I get to punch them back.
Wow. Wow. Right. I know we're into time today. So just to wrap everything up, two things. How do people reach out to you?
Team Mccaskill, anywhere, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can always hit me at Body Shot Boxing Club, whether you're on the website, the email, the phone number, their pages, everything else. You can either find me on Team Mccaskill or Jessica Mccaskill. I've changed everything so that you can find me by my name. So my real name is out there.
Great.
So Instagram, Twitter, all of that.
Finally, and for people in Chicago watching this and they want to come along to the gym, for the kids first, tell us about that.
Body Shot Boxing Club's at 600 West Ceramac. BodyShotBoxingClub.com is the website. They have Facebook and everything too. I'm there 4:30 every day, so come holler at me. Come take some personal training or some of my classes. Big shout out to everybody that is watching, whether in the UK or Chicago or anywhere in between. Thank you so much for all of your support, to my management, to my team, Team Mccaskill, to Body Shot Boxing Club. A lot of love to everybody.
Well, Jessica Mccaskill, thank you so much for talking to BWTM. You've made my day, my week, my month, my year. I can retire now because I've interviewed you and like, yes, did it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being such a wonderful guest.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Jessica Mccaskill. Thank you so much. Jessica, thanks again. Take care, champ.
Thank you.
All the best. There you go. We delivered once again. Jessica Mccaskill at 2 a.m. in the morning, 8 p.m. in Chicago. We've done it once again. That was an interview I've always wanted to get, and I finally got it. This has been BWTM Sports. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave your comments. Share the video. I'm out of here. Take care.